Hey Eurovision fans, it's Tom coming to you from Shanghai and back for another Eurovision reaction video. Today I'm going to be going through the split results of semi-final number 2 of Eurovision 2022. I'll look at the televote and the jury and see what the hell happened. So, let's kiki. As always, you can use the time bar if you want to skip to a particular part. I'll leave timestamps in the time bar and also in the description below. In case you didn't see it, I already did a reaction to the results from the first semi-final. I also did a video about the voting irregularities, aka the brazen cheating. I purposefully did that video so I wouldn't have to talk about that in this video because it would have taken over the whole thing. So obviously we are going to have 21 televotes I'm talking about today, these 18 countries plus the big 3 that were in the semi-final, and then we have 15 normal jury votes, which are 12 of these countries plus the big 5. So I'm going to focus more on those. First of all, let's take a look at the standings. So Sweden absolutely romped their way to the win in the semi-final. A little bit surprised that Poland were so low. I thought this was a chance for them to get into the top 5 in a semi-final. I spoke about before how when they do qualify, they were 6th, 8th, 8th and 9th in their most recent qualifications. I was hoping they could kind of push a little bit higher up, but no, 6th again for them. They cannot get into the top 5 of a semi. Romania coming 9th, really great. That was one of the death triangle 3 that I was speaking of before. I was hoping that 3 or 2 would get through, but in the end, the chosen one was Romania. And then Azerbaijan, I'll talk about this later, but this is very, very controversial. Naughty Azerbaijan coming 10th with no televote points. This is probably the biggest surprise for me of the entire semi-final, and that is North Macedonia in 11th. I think a lot of people thought that it was going to be either San Marino or Ireland, myself included, but actually they came 14th or 15th. North Macedonia right on the cusp, absolutely desperately disappointing for them. They are definitely the most unlucky country in the Eurovision. In case you don't know, in 2008 and 2009 there used to be a golden jury rule where the 10th spot from semi-final qualification was a jury only spot. I don't know why they did it. I wasn't so much of a super fan back then, so I don't know what the logic was behind it, but basically North Macedonia came 10th in the semi altogether, but because of this golden jury they got kicked out. So that's incredibly unlucky. The 2 years that they had that, North Macedonia got kicked out twice, plus on top of that they've had a bunch of non-qualifications, almost always being in what I would consider the most difficult semi-final, and now they've had 11th placing. This is their second 11th placing. They're so unlucky, it's absolutely unbearable. Yeah, God, I just want them to catch some sort of a break. I don't know, I think they should just automatically qualify them for next year, just like show some mercy for poor North Macedonia. And then in last place we have Georgia. Not too surprising considering that they really did just miss the mark. Okay, let's talk about whatever's written in my script. First of all, let's talk about the jury. Now, as I spoke before, I'm not going to bother speaking about the jury scores from the 6 countries who had an aggregated score. First of all, 2 countries got points from every single country. Sweden's lowest was 6 from Spain, and Australia's lowest was a 2 from Serbia, but they mostly got 10s. Sweden mostly got 12s. I saw there was some controversy. Some of the cheating countries accused Sweden and Australia and Belgium of collaborating, which doesn't make any sense because the median grade for Sweden was 12 and the median points for Australia was 10. So it's not surprising that's what the aggregates gave, because those aggregates are an average of what other people are voting. You can see Estonia got points from everyone but 2 countries, and same for Belgium. Belgium got points, and this is what put Belgium through. They did get televotes as well, but Belgium got points from all juries apart from Finland and Malta, and it's just really consistent across the board. 105 jury points in total, which we know is usually enough to qualify in a semi with 21 people voting, so that 18 contestants plus big 3, you probably would need above 100 to qualify. We actually saw the 10th place was 96, but I would consider that a little bit low. I think that's more just because Spain and Australia really hoovered up an absolute, well, particularly Sweden, were just like a gigantic IKEA vacuum cleaner of points, sucking them all up. So I think under normal circumstances you would have needed 110 to qualify. Belgium got 105 from the jury line. Really consistent across the board. A lot of numbers there between 5 and 10, which is really where you want to be scoring. I think just the freshness of this, how unique it sounded, very different from everything else, very well sung. He had a very good jury note as well, which he hit very powerfully, and I think he would have very much gone out of his way to hit more jury notes in the jury show, keeping in mind that the jury watch a different show from what we watch on Thursday night. Fifth was Czech Republic. Really happy for them. They got points from everyone but Spain and Macedonia. North Macedonia. And then controversy.com, Naughty Naughty Pants, Azerbaijan in 6th place. They got points from everyone but Ireland and Israel, ranging from 1 up to 12. They got a 12 from Spain. So yeah, this really heavily went in for the jury. It was very much a jury, it felt like a very jury designed song. Now I actually liked the song, but I saw the reaction to it was super lukewarm, and I saw very few people having this in the top 10s or top 15s. Yeah, this felt really maybe too much trying to go for the jury. The song had a very like dramatic climax to it, all building up to that big jury note with that final tableau. I suppose it's a strategy going for a very jury striking performance, but yeah, it just didn't appeal with the televoters at all. Let's just cut to the chase. They got 0 with the televote, which I'll speak about when I talk about the televote points, but it's really shocking. Poland came 7th with the jury. They got points from 16 countries, which isn't bad at all. Not particularly high points. I think just how kind of a little bit tacky this was. I really enjoyed how kitchen camp it was, but it was very tacky staging, and the song is quite kind of Eurotrashy as well, so I think pretty decent. I think this is more a televote viewing song than a jury one. Serbia in 8th. This is one of the things I was concerned about before, was the jury going to get Serbia? It was quite varied actually. Quite a few juries just did not get this. It got 0 points from 7 juries, so I think that slight concern I had was a little bit justified that some people just did not get this. On the flip side, it got 12 from North Macedonia, again not super surprising, and it got 8 from Finland. So yeah, not scoring super high in the jury. I think this is the type of song that a jury should be putting higher. There were some issues with them being able to portray the meaning and message of the song, because they weren't able to put their subtitles on the LEDs as they had originally planned with RAI, but obviously because of the Son of Death they couldn't, and they had to put them up on the screen. I wonder that slightly dilute the understanding of the message a little bit. Finland super consistent with the juries in 8th, also getting 63 points. Only 3 countries didn't give them any points at all, and again that sits with this really safe radio friendly song. You see with these really safe songs that get like that sweep the border with jury points, it's kind of lower jury points, that they end up just not doing well in the final. And that's one of the things that I'm always saying, is that if you want to go for that, same with Azerbaijan as well, if you want to go for that jury appealing kind of like safer song, that's fine, you will qualify from 7th to 10th, but then you're just going to do absolutely nothing in the final. So sometimes it's worth it to take that little bit of a risk, like Serbia did. They took a risk, they said something very unusual. You're not going to get like super solid reliable points from the jury, but then you're going to do much better in the final. And then in 10th place with North Macedonia. So this is the only song from the top 10 of the jury that didn't make it. The country that took its place was Romania, who came 14th of the jury. So first of all, North Macedonia, 12 from Germany, which was really nice. Now, I think North Macedonia are the most hard done by in the semi-final. One of the things, I don't want to go into it too much, but one of the things I spoke in my other videos about, if you look at what the original cheating results would have given us, North Macedonia still wouldn't have qualified. But there is like a third scenario, which is like, what if those juries had just voted normally? I don't know if that would have been enough for Macedonia to cross the line, but definitely I would have expected Montenegro to give North Macedonia some points. So I'm talking about a scenario where those 6 countries didn't cheat and actually just voted with their hearts what they actually liked. Theoretically, for me, North Macedonia actually could maybe have crept up into 10th spot and kicked out Azerbaijan. So that is a little bit sad. Again, I do think it's a little bit of a push. I'm saying the probability would be quite low, but it is something that could feasibly have happened. I think the fact that it's so unlikely is one of the reasons that the EBU pounced on this opportunity to expose the cheaters, because if, for example, North Macedonia had only been 3 or 4 points behind Azerbaijan, you could almost say with quite a lot of certainty that they would have been robbed of that 10th spot. They actually ended up finishing 20 points behind Azerbaijan. That's probably enough of a buffer, but yeah, unfortunately we'll never know how those 6 countries would have voted naturally, and would North Macedonia have been able to pick up some of those 20 points. Keep in mind it works both ways. Like if North Macedonia take 3 points off of Azerbaijan, that's a 6-point swing. So really you only need a swing of 10 points. If North Macedonia can take 10 of Azerbaijan's points, that's enough to swap positions. We'll never know, it's speculation, but it's sad for North Macedonia. Then we have quite a big drop from 50 to 34 points for Israel, who are in 11th. Again, the jury helping out songs that are early in the running order. And then we see that on the lower end of the spectrum, the jury points are super low. And this is an effect of these countries up at the top just absolutely mopping everything up. Keep in mind that if you have these countries, you're getting points from pretty much every single country. It gets to the point where there's like so little left for the countries towards the bottom, because you have these very like consistently popular songs hoovering up points. San Marino only got points from 4 countries. I think it's kind of sad that a song like this was so penalized. I thought it was a very spectacular show. I know that it was like quietly overtly sexual, but it does kind of almost seem like the jury are like very, very, very overtly penalizing quite sexual songs. We saw with Albania, they got 112 and then flat zeros from everyone else. Now, he didn't qualify with the televote either, but I do think that one of the prerequisites that the jury are meant to look out for is originality, something like that's a little bit different and new. I really do feel like this stood out and it would have offered something a little bit different in the final. So like one of the complaints that people had in the finals, there were so many ballads, particularly in that second half, and songs that felt like they were really samey, and this would have been something that could have broken up. So I do feel like there should be a little bit of emphasis on the jury that they should try and give points to a range of different songs. So I was kind of a little bit disappointed that this did so poorly with the jury. As I already said, Romania really bombed with the jury. They got 18 points from just 4 countries, so definitely was their televote that got them through. Ireland, 12 points from the jury. So interesting when you compare that these 3 triangle bop songs that I talked about before, which was Israel, Ireland and Romania, actually with the jury, the winner out of those was Israel. So 34 points, 12 points, 18 points. So yeah, Israel did win that, but none of those 3 qualified with the juries. And this is something that I think is a little bit sad, is that these bops are really penalized. Like Czech Republic is a bop, but I suppose it's more, it's less of like a gay bop, whereas like those other 3 are like gayer bops. I do feel like the jury excessively penalizes those. I do think they're legitimate music. There are lots of people who listen to that type of music. I'm not saying that every single one of those songs has to go through, but I thought all 3 of those were very well put together. Performances, stylistically, choreography, everything. And the fact that the jury put all 3 of them out for me is a little bit of an issue. I do feel, again, the message to the jury needs to be, no, these type of songs are legitimate. Maybe looking at just getting like a broader range. I do feel like the jury is kind of like a little bit snooty sometimes. I'm still pro jury, keep that in mind, but I just do think that the jury should continue to be tinkered and tailored with. They should just be a little bit less snooty. For me, there's no justification that all 3 of those songs didn't qualify with the jury. And then last with the jury was Cyprus. Again, really surprising. She only got points from 3 countries. I suppose that came down to her vocals. They were fine, but they were just a little bit patchy, sometimes alright, and sometimes sounding a little bit like timid or off. That paired with an overall flat performance. Although in fairness to Cyprus, Montenegro got 3 points from North Macedonia, which you could say is neighbourly, and they got 7 points from Serbia, which you could say is neighbourly. So if you take away those neighbourly points, they got 1 point from the jury from Spain. So you could actually argue that Montenegro was last with the jury, and because Cyprus wasn't, because Cyprus, none of their points were neighbourly. And a quick note about Georgia, they got 0 points from the UK this year, remembering that UK gave them 12 for Nickel and the Georgian Lolitas Midnight Gold in 2016, which is a very cool moment, a cool 12 from the UK, but this year they got 0. Okay, televote. My god, this is a mess. I'm never filming a video in the morning again. Okay, let's go straight to the headline of the televote, which is that Azerbaijan got 0 points. Now, as far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time a qualifier has ever gotten 0 from either the televote or the jury. I'm almost definite about that. Please do correct me if I'm wrong, because you know I love my Eurovision trivia. But yes, we've had 0s before. Panda got 0 from the televote. I think Spirit of the Night got 0 as well from somebody. There have been plenty of 0s over the year from either the televote or the jury, but to qualify with a 0 is really, really controversial. I have to admit I'm a little bit surprised, because Georgia gave Azerbaijan 2 points in the final in the televote. No, they didn't give them 3. They were the only televote points they got. That was amongst 25 songs, but then they didn't give them to them in the semi-final, which seems really, really strange to me, where there's less songs and arguably lower quality. None of the big 5 were there. So that's a little bit strange to me. I have to admit, I do find that very odd, just getting 0 televote points. I didn't think the performance was that bad. I have to admit, I'm speculating a little bit. Was this like some sort of punishment? You know, lots of people speaking about why does nothing get done against Azerbaijan when they do their like naughty pants cheating. I wonder, do they have like a secret, like under the covers, like behind closed doors agreement with the EBU that if they do something naughty, they'll get a punishment? Because that 0 points for me from Azerbaijan is just so unusual, especially with a country that we know has had a history with tampering with televotes before. For them to get the flip side of this and get 0 seems really strange. I don't think the song was that bad, and for it to get 93 points to the jury and then 0 with the televote seems odd to me. No points from Georgia, no points from anyone. including the 3 of the big 5 who are in the semi. It just seems fishy to me, really fishy. But I've got to go with the numbers in front of me, and that is that they got 0. They got 0 in the semi, and they got 0 from everyone in the final as well. So that part does match up. That nobody really liked it, and it matches up with the reception that I got from the community on here and on Twitter as well, is that people just didn't particularly resonate with the song. It was in my top 10 at one point, but I just love that Azeri sounds. So the winners of the Televote was actually a joint win between Serbia and Sweden, and Czech Republic were in third, and all 3 of those countries got points from everybody. So really there were only 7 points left available because those 3 hoovered up points from everybody. Poland again doing really well with the televote, 12 from Belgium, 12 from Germany, 12 from Ireland. Obviously a much greater distribution of 12s in the televote in this semi-final, as there was no Ukraine. The big thing was that Romania was 5th in the televote, and this is what put them through, keeping in mind that they were 14th with the jury. They got 100 points. Only 2 countries didn't give them points. That was North Macedonia and Montenegro. A little bit surprising because they're quite close to each other. They literally got points across the board in the televote. So really surprising that this did so well. Again, of those 3 songs that I spoke about, in that triangle who I felt were really fighting, Romania, Israel, and Ireland. Romania got 100 points and came 5th. Ireland got 35 points and came 11th, and Israel got 27 points and came 13th. So where Israel won the jury, but not by very much, Romania won the televote, but by a lot, and that was the decisive factor between them, is that they just absolutely mopped up that televote. I don't think that's diaspora. I don't know why Romania would suddenly have a diaspora. I think people just really connected to this song. I don't know, maybe it just had that like real nostalgia in it. That kind of I really felt like it was a very nostalgic song for kind of like the noughties, but then also had appealed to kids as well. Something about this really appealed in a much better way. Its running order would have helped as well. This was 13th, Ireland was 10th, Israel was 2nd. I definitely think that would have impacted Israel the most. Another thing about Israel's votes is Israel's televotes are very strange. They got 2 points from San Marino, 2 points from Germany, 3 points from Czech Republic, and then they got this really random 10 from Georgia. 10 points from Georgia and 10 points from Azerbaijan. I don't know if this is like some cultural thing. Is there like a cultural connection in the Caucasus with Michael Ben David or something? I don't know what's going on. This is really strange for me because I would kind of consider these as 2 kind of not very LGBT plus friendly countries, or like definitely on the kind of like the lower scale of friendliness. So it's really strange to me that they gave this like very overtly camp, so big points. Again, being at the start of the show just makes me wonder what was something going on. Azerbaijan get their 12 to Cyprus. Again, a little bit of anomaly because generally Cyprus didn't do that well with the televote. Azerbaijan's televote points, they're not that fishy, but yeah, 12 to Cyprus, 10 to Israel. I don't know, it's slightly unusual. Maybe they had just low voting numbers or something. Georgia's televote, other than that, is actually very regular. Like all of Georgia's other points, the top 9 of them went to the top 9 of the televote, and then the 10 went to Israel. It's very strange because then I'm thinking, well, if all their other scores went to the top 9, that almost looks like an aggregated result. But then the 10 going to Israel, it almost looks like one is the aggregated points of another, that like one of them voted 10 for Israel and then the other one got the aggregated of their 10. But then, for example, Georgia gave 12 to Serbia and Azerbaijan gave 0. So actually their votes are really different. It's very strange. If anyone's got any ideas about what could have happened there, that would be great for me, because really those 2 10s for Israel are really odd. Really happy to see Finland coming 6th in the televote. They got a 12 from Sweden, a 12 from Estonia, and 10 from Czech Republic. That's really reassuring for me that a song that is coming first in the running order is getting 2 12s and a 10. Now I would say that Sweden and Estonia are definitely big Euro fans. I would expect more of their viewers to be tuned in. That Czech Republic vote, I have to admit I'm always a tiny bit skeptical about the Czechia televote. In case you don't know, there is a certain threshold that needs to be met for votes for a televote to count. The EBU don't publicize what that is because they don't want people trying to manipulate the system based off of that. But that is why, for example, San Marino doesn't have a televote. Czech Republic is also a country that has a very famously low viewing figures. I think they had 145,000 this year, which is definitely one of the lowest out of all the countries in the competition, despite having a population of almost 11 million. So yeah, it's still really not that popular in Czech Republic, and we've seen that in Slovakia as well. Slovakia is also, Eurovision is just not a big deal. Australia actually got points from all but 4 countries, so that's really heartwarming to see. I still got this slight gut feeling that there is hesitancy from a lot of people to give them points because of this like bizarre geographical nonsense. So I was happy to see that they got 74 points and came 8th in the televote. Cyprus were 9th in the televote, so that is the only one in the top 10 of the televote that ended up not qualifying. Remember that we had North Macedonia 10th in the jury, Cyprus 9th in the televote, a little bit lucky for them. And then 10th in the televote was Belgium. So for all the uproar saying that Belgium got through, people were putting them very much in the same category as Switzerland from semi-final number 1, thinking that they got 0 televote points. They actually got 46, which is very decent. Points from 14 different countries, so actually not pretty low points, but still this was like very much appreciated across the board. 11th was Ireland, so we didn't qualify in the jury or the televote. So really, I don't think that's really just a means for being robbed if you can't make the top 10 in either. I think one of the key takeaways I would take from Ireland in this is that going into the semi-final they were in 18th, and that's just not a position that we can afford to be in. I think we all got carried away by how good the performance was, myself included, absolutely, definitely. And on reflection, going back to think about both San Marino and Ireland, these were kind of like 18th. I think San Marino was around 16th in the odds going into the semi-final, and that really is a testament to the songs, because the odds at that point are very much based on what the songs are and how well they've been received. These songs did really poorly in OJE. They both did very poorly in Eurojury as well. So we already knew that the songs had a tendency to not be particularly appreciated. The staging elevated that, but really, I don't think we've ever seen a case where a song has been like 18th in the odds and then staging has brought it up into qualifying. I can't remember a time when that's happened in recent years. So really, that's probably the thing that I will learn from this whole experience, is that if a song is 18th going into the semis, it doesn't really matter how good the staging is, because the song itself was too weak to qualify in the first place. So, you know, it's still fun to get carried away when one of the underdogs starts bringing it. And I definitely think that Ireland would have come last in the semi-final if it wasn't for how good Brooke's performance was. So really proud of her and really impressed by how good she was. I also thought Achille Lau did an amazing performance as well. This also could have been super low in the semi if he hadn't brought such an entertaining show. So looking at the combined scores during televote added together, we said the first 7 countries got points from every single country. So again, if you want to qualify, the best strategy is having a broad appeal, a good song that literally the entirety of Europe agrees is good, and all vote for it, whether it be a jury or the televote. So all of these 7 countries got points from everyone. Belgium got points from everybody apart from Malta. And then Romania and Azerbaijan got points from everyone but 2 countries. And then we see there's actually quite an interesting slice down that really all the countries that didn't qualify got points from much less countries. North Macedonia didn't get points from 9 countries. So you can see there's a big drop from everyone but 2 down to everyone but 9. Even though the points difference only ended up being 20, because some of the points that North Macedonia got were quite big. Cyprus and Israel not getting points from 6 countries. Other interesting things from the combined results: Ireland, of our 47 points, 26 of them came from Australia and the UK. So that is slight cause for concern. It does slightly irritate me when people from Ireland or from the Irish delegation complain about block voting when we're picking up 26 points from our closest cultural people in Australia and UK. So you can't have it both ways. You can't complain about block voting and then we pick up over half of our points from our neighbours, our cultural neighbours, and we still didn't make it. So yeah, we can't have our cake and eat it. And as I spoke about earlier, Montenegro, they got 33 points, but 13 were from North Macedonia, 19 were from Serbia, and one was from Spain. So if you take away their neighbourly voting, they're left with 1 point. So I suppose that is worse than what we got. But combined score at the end, Georgia getting the lowest points. Obviously, they probably would have gotten points from a truthful Azerbaijan vote, but that didn't happen. So comparing the televote and the jury, I've already spoken about the differences between Romania and Azerbaijan. They were the big ones. Azerbaijan with a 12 place difference last of the televote. 6th with the jury. Romania 14th with the jury, 5th with the televote, so that's a difference of 9 placings. Other than that, Australia had a difference of 6 placings. That showed up in the final when they did really well with the jury, and then the televote, I think he got 2 or 3 points. Cyprus as well, 9th in the televote, 18th in the jury, difference of 9 placings. That's what cost them their place in the final. Belgium with only a 6 placings difference, so not as much as of a jury hog as everyone was talking about on Twitter after they qualified. They actually were only 6 places away from their televote score. Poland only 3 places away. I think that's a good improvement for them. I do think they have a reputation for being stronger in the televote. This is a decent jury score for them. I don't think it's bad. They didn't get any of the high scores, but 7th in the jury, 4th in the televote, 6th overall, but their jury and televote points are a little bit more even this year, so I think that's good for them. Serbia 2nd in the televote, 9th in the jury. Again, I wish that Serbia's jury points had been a little bit higher. Okay, so that is all the breakdown stuff. Let me know what you think about the jury and the televote split. What were the things that jumped out for you? What were your big surprises? Anything that was a pleasant surprise? Please leave a comment in the comment section down below. And thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in another version reaction video very soon. Goodbye.